Load of. It's 9 o'clock. Your call. Is it offensive to call someone a bigot? Stonewall is in hot water with its sponsors over its annual Bigots of the Year award. They're threatening to withdraw their support after complaints from Christian campaigners. Two senior figures, the Catholic Church, are nominated for what they've said about gay rights. Does Stonewall have a point? Or is it wrong to call them bigots? Ruth Hunt from Stonewall says it's justified.
This isn't about a word that we use to describe people who disagree with us. We're using it to describe people who've compared lesbian, gay and bisexual people to Nazis, paedophiles. These are very hateful and very serious things to be saying about a group of people.
The Catholic Church says Stonewall is just attacking people who don't agree with it. What do you think? Is it offensive or even bigoted to call someone a bigot? 0500 909 693. Text 85058. You're with 5 Live from the BBC. Let me just remind you of what we were talking about this morning here on your call. It's really that word bigoted. Again, the Catholic Church says Stonewall's attacking people who don't agree with it, because at the Stonewall Awards tonight, they've got this award for Bigot of the Year, and some leading members of the Catholic Church are nominated in that. We've got Mick in Chester, Michael in Taunton, and Martin in Bridgewater. Good morning, all of you.
Morning. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. We've got Jack Valero from Catholic Voice. Hello, Jack.
Good morning.
How are you keeping these days?
Very well, thank you.
Good, good. And Mark Borokowski, who's a PR expert. Hello, Mark.
Morning, Nicky.
Do you think it's all right to call someone a bigot, Mark, or is it just, well, as we say, a bit bigoted and hateful and unaccepting and...
Listen, we're debating bigotry, which I think is interesting. So clearly, putting this award in, and Barclays pulling out or disassociating himself with it, has got this debate going. And I think it's a healthy debate, not only to look at some of the issues that Stonewall want to focus on, but actually the word bigot. I think that it's slightly unnerving to see a sponsor like Barclays getting cold feet after doing some remarkable work in diversity. So that isn't good. But it also shows the nervousness and also the force and the effective lobbying efforts. I suspect some of the more fundamentalist point of views around these issues have achieved in making Barclays feel nervous.
Jack Valero.
Well, I think it's offensive to call somebody a bigot just because he doesn't agree with you. And, it's ironic that such an organization as Stonewall, which is supposed to champion tolerance and positive value diversity, should do this, should say, you're a bigot because you don't agree with us. It's like an attempt to enforce conformity and shut down debate. Name calling is the old age thing, name calling, and then we can't discuss it.
But it hasn't shut down debate.
Well, it's
increased the debate.
Because what you were saying is that if Cardinal O'Brien says I defend traditional marriage for very good reasons, then he is a bigot.
But Jack,
Jack, his views are not important.
Jack, the allegation is that his language was intemperate, and basically, when he said it's on the road to bestiality, for example, a lot of people are incredibly uncomfortable with that.
Yeah.
I find that incredibly offensive.
Well, he didn't actually say that. I think his words had been stretched.
Well, what he said was this. I would say we're working towards the destruction of any sort of moral standards. We don't want this in our country. We've gone far enough. We can't go any further with the destruction of our society. The moral tone of our society has gone downhill. I said, what about paedophiles? What if that's what everybody likes? What if a man likes little girls? Can he adopt a little girl and just have a little girl at home? Where are we going with this? I even mentioned bestiality. This worries me. Well, you see, is it not counterproductive to use arguments like that in a valid argument?
Well, he's making the argument that thinks the slippery slope argument that you allow one thing and then other things may follow.
But if somebody said, look, there's a few paedophiles in the Catholic Church, so the slippery slope is they're all going to become paedophiles, that's exactly the same logic. And if somebody said that, you would be the first to say that they are bigoted, wouldn't you, Jack?
No, but obviously the Catholic Church is against paedophilia of any kind, even if there are some people in it who have practiced it. And so what we're talking here is of what marriage is and what it's for, and whether if you hold these views of marriage, you are a bigot, because that's what we had with Clegg and everything. That if eventually, if you hold those traditional views, then you will be called a bigot.
This is a kind of liberal fascism, Mark Borkowski, and that anyone who disagrees with you, they're a bigot.
Correct.
Mark Borkowski?
I don't think it's as simplistic as that. I mean, one could argue that Stonewall perhaps should have a tougher skin, but this is a rough and tumble of free speech, which I think Stonewall defend. Listen, I'm not a spokesman or defender of Stonewall. I'm not completely across all issues. I'm giving an independent view of the sort of PR implications for this.
Yeah.
And it is depressing for me that, to a certain extent, that a major brand like Barclays finds it, finds it uncomfortable to be associated with it. It's a backward step, and we don't want to see that. And I think that, yes, I think everybody needs occasionally to evaluate how they position some of the negativity, because there's no doubt about the good work that Stonewall does in the areas of bullying, and some of the awards, which goes to some guy who said that gay people should be put before firing squads. I think if people have the sort of voice to say that, I think we need to understand that some of the issues haven't gone away. I mean, look at the football debate at the moment. We don't seem to have moved away from all the great work that Kick It Out has done. So it's time to refocus on these things, and people have a perspective on it that sometimes don't get to it. I think Bigot it brings the debate into a context that creates a conversation about it, but perhaps it's time to evaluate the use of that word, but not at some of the issues that Stonewall want us to focus on.
When I asked, is this a sort of liberal fascism, who said it is correct? Who was that? Which of our callers was that?
That was Mick. That was Mick from Chester.
Mick in Chester, hello to you, yes, yeah.
Hi, are you well?
Yeah, what is your substantive point?
My point is, I really do, I listen to the phone in every day, but I really do get sick and tired of being lectured on bigotry by bigots, organisations that exclude people on the grounds of their race, colour, creed, gender, religious group, sexual orientation. And it's just never ending. It's these organisations, whether it be gay and lesbian police officers, whether it be black and Asian lawyers, music of black. If I started an organisation, Nicky, say the White Veterans Association, these people would tear me to pieces. I go through life not caring where anyone's from or what anybody does.
So it's okay to call. Is it okay to call someone a bigot? That's really what we're talking. Is it okay to call somebody a bigot?
No, it's not. Especially when you're being bigoted yourself. You're a bigot yourself. How can you lecture people on bigotry by excluding other people from your group?
All right. Michael, stay there. Michael in Taunton. Hello, Michael.
Good morning.
And your point?
My point simply is, if one disagrees with the lifestyle or the acts of another person, that does not make you a bigot. If someone says that you need to be put up in front of a firing squad and shot for your sexuality, yes, that makes you a bigot. Yeah. I was arrested. I'm a preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I was arrested several months ago because two gay men took offence. I was reading from the Bible. They wanted to tear me apart. They spat at me. They were so violent in their language, it was unbelievable.
Well, they're the bigots, aren't they?
Well, yes, but listen, the police took that up, and the CPS took it up. They had arrest records for racial battery, drug offence, as long as your arm, recent. They took it up, and they took it to court, and bless God, we had a not guilty victim. But this is where we are in this nation now. You cannot speak out against what we feel is wrong sexually or in other areas.
So what is bigotry? What about... Let me ask you, Michael.
There's a campaign with buses in the nation that says, basically, I'm gay, get over it.
Okay.
That is an attack on...
What a noise in the background. Let me ask you a question, Michael, if I may. Pat Robertson, the American preacher, when we had the terrible situation in Louisiana, wasn't it? He said it was God's wrath against gays, and then we had the situation this week. We had a preacher saying that the storms were God's punishment for gay marriage. Is that a bigoted thing to say?
Well, when you look at the Bible, God does judge nations for sin, and he does use storms. We are only saying what's in the Bible. If you have a personal campaign of hatred and you're using the Bible and Scripture because you have a beef against certain groups, yes, bigotry. But if you are just stating for the moral welfare of a nation what the Bible clearly says, how can that be bigotry? If you don't hate the guys, I don't hate gay people. I've had some wonderful conversations with homosexuals. But sadly, when we bring what the Bible says into it, a spiritual thing takes place, and violent hatred can really spark very easily, not just from men, but from women also. Stonewall has a history. Stonewall originated from a violent episode that happened in New York when a sexual act was reported to have been committed in a gay bar. The New York police came and there was a riot. And from that, in the 60s, Stonewall came and you know, there's been violence committed against people, and I know the church has bullied and treated homosexual people in the past in an atrocious way. So in a way, we're getting our comeuppance, but it still does not make it right. When we actually look at what the word bigot means, dogmatist, persecutor, racist, sectarian, and the likes, just because I disagree doesn't mean I'm a bigot.
Well, thank you very much for your call, Michael. More to come, 9:22. Here's Orna.
Thank you, Nicky. And County Armagh, the M1 is...
It's 9:23. Jonathan Gabay joins us, and he is a branding journalist. Hello.
Hello, Nicky. How are you?
Very good, very good. And
cool.
Julie Bendel as well, a Guardian columnist. Julie, are you there?
Yes. Hi. Good morning, Nicky.
Hi, Julie. Yes. Is it not bigoted to call somebody a bigot? Does it not add to sort of the pot of hatred and toxicity?
No, I think there are ways of doing it that are definitely more sensible than others. But if you're talking about putting people in front of a firing squad because they are gay or lesbian, and if you're talking about comparing us, I'm a lesbian, comparing us to people who have sex with children and animals, then I think that there's no question about it that there is bigotry. And I love the fact that Stonewall calls out bigots and makes it their business to say, this actually costs lives. This means people may be attacked, whether at school or in the street or in the workplace, or in countries such as Jamaica, South Africa, and even here in the UK, where people are actually murdered through prejudice and bigotry. However, I do think that if you get into bed with big corporate sponsors, such as Coots and Barclays, etc., then you have to learn to compromise, and you have to accept that those people might get a little bit nervous if you do something cutting edge and radical.
Yeah, so it kind of cuts your cloth a bit, doesn't it?
Well, but there's also another issue, which is the way that it's done. And I think that perhaps having Bigot of the Year is not the most strategic way to call these people out. I mean, I've been to the awards, on 2 or 3 occasions. And I've also had a campaign of bigotry waged against me on the internet, where I was accused of being a bigot for my feminist views. And it's horrible, and it cuts out debate. And when I've been, in the hall where... it's a great atmosphere where people are being commended for the wonderful work that they've done, Journalist of the Year, which I was up for in 2008, or there's Writer of the Year, and it's really positive and brilliant. Then all of a sudden, you have the Bigot of the Year, and you have a lot of, besuited, white, relatively rich men stamping their feet and booing as names come in. And it's just a little bit nasty, bearing in mind its most effective campaign is anti-bullying in schools. It can feel a little bit bullying. However, I think that Stonewall should be commended for calling bigots out. Yeah,
interesting. Yeah, Mark's in Bingley. Let's hear from Mark. I'll come back to Julie. Mark, what do you want to say?
I just want to say that there's a huge amount of hypocrisy here. They're all screaming, we've got to be tolerant, haven't we, Stonewall, and all these groups of minorities. And seeing as we're talking about the homosexual lobby, I'll refer to them. Where was the tolerance from them for the Christian couple who were sued by the 2 homosexual men? That was vindictive. There are hotels that welcome animals. Now, I've no problem with animals, but I don't want to stay in a hotel with animals. So I'll go and find one without. Doesn't mean I'm going to sue them. But it's just hypocrisy. And they're more bigoted than anybody else, with all the... it's anything to promote their agenda. And I really do feel they're trying to strangle anybody who has a different viewpoint to them with political correctness.
Julie?
And they have no tolerance for anyone else.
I'm sorry, but this is outrageous. Did you just compare gay people staying in a hotel to animals? I mean, this is unbelievably outrageous, and exactly why... Can I just finish my sentence? And exactly why I support... Can I please finish my sentence?
Hang on, let's let Julie finish the sentence. I'll come back to you. I think you were kind of saying not quite that. You were saying that, if some animals would... Some hotels would accept dogs, and if you didn't want to go to a hotel there, you wouldn't... You weren't... Were you comparing it? I don't think you were you, Mark?
No, I wasn't. I was saying there's a situation, if something has a service that I don't want, or they want to, have something that I don't, that is their speciality, or they
So if their speciality is we don't have gay people, you shouldn't go there, or whatever.
Well, if it's beheld, if they're of a genuinely belief, and the devout people, and they probably would be very kind to them as human beings because of their beliefs, but because their belief says they can't sort of accept that under their roof, where was the tolerance from the gays who said, okay?
Well, it was against. It was against the law. But Julie Bindle, now you come back.
Well, it's not a level playing field. It's not all right to say you have to tolerate us because we tolerate you. Straight people don't actually get daily bigotry and prejudice. And this can result in real harm, psychological and physical harm. It can result in us losing our homes, our families, our jobs, even our lives. So if we say to you, as a straight person, we don't like the way that you treat us, that's because we have had a history of prejudice that puts us at a massive disadvantage to you. It would be like arguing that white people should be able to claim similar discrimination as black people. It's absolute nonsense, and I do think...
Julie, I don't care how bent or straight or gay or homosexual or whatever the thing is in your daily lives. If I have to work with somebody and you can do your job and you bring good business or you...
That's very tolerant. That's very tolerant of you. But listen, let me come to Jonathan.
Hi.
Is this an own goal by
who?
Stonewall?
No, but it is an own goal by Barclays. I'm really amazed with what Julie just said about 5 minutes ago about, she's saying that you have to, cut your cloth, and when it comes to sponsorship, you have to actually, fit in with these people. What a lot of nonsense. The fact is that if Barclays or any other brand is going to sponsor an organisation, they should know what they're sponsoring, and they can't then, go back on what they're saying because they say, well, maybe it's politically or maybe probably actually commercially incorrect to do that at the moment.
I agree with you.
Ridiculous. No, I'm not saying you're ridiculous. Yeah, you do agree. So why did you say that about this cutting cloth thing?
Well, can I actually clarify what I meant?
Yeah.
I think I'm quite cynical about the big corporates pulling out because of ideology or politics or because they think it's distasteful. I think they're probably trying to cut down their charitable giving rather, sorry.
No, actually I think living.
Let's none of us cut down on our charitable living.
So
absolutely.
I think that they're trying to cut down on their charitable giving, and I think this is an excuse. What I'm saying is it's a bit like when you lay down with dogs. These banks, these corporates, there are some really dodgy elements to some of their politics, their dealings and their ethics. And I think that you take the rough with the smooth, and that is the bottom line. However, I think it's utterly outrageous of these sponsors to suggest at this stage pulling out because of this. I mean, Stonewall is a very non-controversial, quite conservative with a small c organisation. It doesn't do an awful lot that's radical, but what it does do in schools to tackle bullying is exemplary, and therefore I would stand on side with Stonewall any day in this debate. But I do think it's a little bit... The baying crowd...
Because you know what it does?
A little bit nasty.
It introduces hate into the equation, doesn't it?
In what way?
It reintroduces hate. It's like reclaiming hate. It says, let's hate these people. Let's hate that clergyman. Let's hate that bishop.
No, it's not. No. No, Nicky. What this is about standing up to bullies, okay, and people who humiliate and intimidate. And the word in the English dictionary, as far as I understand, that is associated with this is a bigot. In terms of this particular context. So therefore, they have a bigot of the year. And what's really weird, I mean, totally, completely weird in my opinion, is that Barclays have been supporting this since 2009. And yet I've got a quote here that's from their head of global diversity that says, I have recently been made aware of the inclusion of a bigot of the year. Well, hold on a minute. They've been supporting it since 2009.
Indeed. I think that's where my scepticism comes in about the reasons for threatening to pull out.
Absolutely.
Thank you both very much indeed for your contributions this morning. It's 9:32. Is it bigoted to call somebody a bigot? That's not actually our question, but it's in there. Let me ask you. Let me tell you what the question is. Basically, it's because of the Stonewall business in hot water with the sponsors. The precise question, ladies and gentlemen, is it offensive to call someone a bigot? 0500 909 693. Was this a wise move by Stonewall to have this Bigot of the Year award tonight in their otherwise illustrious perhaps, awards ceremony? It's 9:32, and here's Simon. So we're discussing these Stonewall awards and this Bigot of the Year award? Is it unnecessarily offensive or necessary in exposing bigoted attitudes? 0500 909 693. Alan from London. Alan Craig, you've been nominated, Alan, haven't you?
I have indeed. I have indeed, Nicky. That's right. I'm one of the 5 nominees.
You're one of the 5 nominees for Bigot of the Year. We still have got Jonathan Gabay, who is with us too, branding journalist, and also Karen calls us, and Karen calls us from Newcastle. Hello, Karen.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning to you. I believe you're a pre-op transgender woman as well, so you're happy to take part in this discussion.
Yes, I am.
Excellent.
Yes.
Thanks for calling. So why have you been nominated, Alan?
I understand I wrote an article in the Church of England newspaper about a year ago now, and I'm getting a lot of echo on this line, Nick. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Maybe you've got your radio on or something like that, or we could call you back and get a better line. Is it all right?
If you can hear all right.
I can hear. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Echo, but I can carry on.
Ignore the echo.
I'll ignore the echo. No, I wrote an article in the Church of England newspaper about a year ago, and that's what they took offence of. The article was called "Confronting the Gestapo," and they considered that was really quite offensive. What I'd like to say, though, Nick, and it's really quite important, I said in the article, and this is what I believe, it's perfectly reasonable to warmly engage with your gay neighbours, while at the same time forcefully confronting the vaulting ambitions of the gay leaders. And by that I mean the gay politicians and so on who are promoting a gay agenda. I have no problem whatsoever with gay people. And therefore, when Stonewall say that people like me are calling ordinary gays and lesbians Nazis, they're simply wrong. My gay neighbours, my atheist neighbours, I get on with everybody. Live and let live is my personal...
I've got your article, Alan. I'm just going to read a bit of it so it goes into context with... you talk about the rise of Nazism, and then you say it's only 1938, and Nazi expansionist ambitions are far from sated. Flattered by appeasers and fated by the political class, the Oberkommandos from Stonewall and Outrage have expansive goals for cultural hegemony and have long... wanted to march on the next territory. They want to hijack a word and capture our culture at its deepest level. They want to reconfigure relationships, eliminate the traditional family, and hence eradicate stable upbringing for children. They want SSM, same-sex marriage. Well, would those articles not have been rather more delicately put without using a Nazi analogy, the Nazis being the most murderous and barbaric regime in human history, having, industrially killed more than 6 million people?
Well, what I was trying to do, Nicky, was I was trying to wake people up to the political ideology behind the gay movement and what they're trying to achieve. And we're seeing it's being unveiled before our eyes, step by step, of which same-sex marriage, gay marriage, is just the next step, as they try to gayify the political agenda.
Gayify?
That's not excuse gayify.
You try and deify, and they try and gayify. Let me bring... I can hear... Go on.
It's really important. Can I just finish this point? It's really important. It is a perfectly valid thing for me to say, and to make the comparison, in my view, is valid. And the Bigot of the Year award illustrates my point. They work by intimidation, by humiliation, by trying to keep people cowering, and by name-calling to them. That is their tactics.
But you said they're like Nazis. Okay, let me bring Jonathan in here.
Yeah, I mean, wow. By the way, Craig, sorry, Alan, congratulations in advance, because what you've just said, I mean, you're definitely a winner for that award. What an insult to people who died during the Holocaust, and please don't tell me the one about my next door neighbours and some of my best friends are gay. I'm Jewish. I get people who say some of my best friends are Jewish. It's an absolute insult. The Ben Summerskill, the chief executive at Stonewall, he said, "We have never called anyone a bigot because they disagreed with us. All nominees have gone well beyond any normal practices of decent levels of public discourse," and I think you've just proven it there. So well done to you.
No, I don't think so. I think
I think so. I think most of England who's listening to this thinks so.
But let's be quite clear. I am not calling gays and lesbians that. I'm saying there are political operators, some at Stonewall and elsewhere, whose actually their ideology is becoming quite clear. and I'm highlighting what that is, and it's a perfectly reasonable thing to do.
Well, it's reasonable to call a gay starpo. What an insult! You're not a very educated person, are you?
Well, now you're getting personal, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I am getting personal because you are getting... I mean, what a terrible thing.
I'm not getting personal to you. You're getting personal to me.
Well, I think that on behalf of people who are listening, someone's got to stand up. That's the whole point of what this particular award is about. It's about standing up to bullies who humiliate and intimidate. And that's exactly what you're doing, aren't you?
What are you trying to do yourself?
No, that's what you are doing.
I don't consider that I am. What I'm trying to do is highlight the political ideology behind the gay movement and what they're trying to achieve. And the evidence is there for you and for me to see. I make no comment whatsoever on what my neighbours do, what the gays down the road do, or whatever. They live their lives. Live and let live is my personal philosophy.
Oh, yeah.
I make no comment at all.
But was it not intemperate to compare it to Nazism and what led to the Holocaust and the uniquely barbaric descent of an industrial nation into what happened? Jonathan is Jewish. People who may be sympathetic with you on your stance on gay marriage, and people may not approve of that. Many will draw the line on the comparison you've made with the Nazis, Alan Craig. Is it not one massive own goal?
Well, I don't think it is. I mean, we need to highlight what is going on, Nicky. I use those words quite advisedly. I thought about it long and hard.
God, that makes it even worse.
And I then put the article out there because it is aimed at political leaders. If I want to, let's just use a comparison. If I want to accuse a trade union, for instance, a particular trade union, of using bully boy or using blackmail tactics, okay? If I want to do that, it's perfectly legitimate for me to do so. Okay? I name no individuals in there. I'm not pillaring any individual. I'm saying there's a political ideology there which needs exposing.
But you're stifling debate.
It has exposed it.
How's he stifling debate? We're having it.
No, he's stifling debate because what he's saying is that this expression of his, right, about the gay starpo, which is like going in and saying that you can't talk about this and you can't talk about that. Well, that's it. He's saying, right, I don't want to talk about it because you don't want to talk about it. Just stop now. It's ridiculous, stupid, babyish.
Karen, what do you think? Let's bring Karen in. Let's bring Karen in.
You're just getting personal.
Well, let's bring Karen.
Well, thanks, Nicky. It is getting a little bit silly, I think, and a bit personal, some of the debate here. But I think overall, what I hope the meaning of the award and the term bigotry is just to highlight some of the hatred and nastiness that's still out there, that still is being expressed. And we can all disagree with each other. I mean, I'm not religious, but it's all that kind of. But I don't disagree with anybody who is. It's just when the words that are being used sometimes are nasty or personal, and they can hurt you. And all you want to do is to go through your life and be as happy as you can be, and to work hard. To have friends, to enjoy your life. And when there's some people who may have the views that are being expressed in a vicious way often, and that really, really hurts you personally, then that is the reason, surely, for trying to highlight those kinds of behaviours. And whether or not the person you have on the phone here has just been silly in the way that he's used he's expressed the title of his article or not, I think it just needs to be hammered home sometimes that some of the views that are being expressed to people like myself and to others are personally hurtful. And anything we can do to highlight that, to educate and to stop that.
Are you hurt by this gay starpo thing? I mean, you're a transgendered woman, but would you be hurt by that? The gay starpo and the
same again. Personally, I wouldn't be. I think it's more clumsy and probably a little bit ill-educated to have used that term.
But Alan is very educated, man. Is that less of an excuse? Alan, you are very educated.
I've met you. Educated, but using an ill-educated term, can't you?
Can I make the point that
Please, Alan,
it's where it gets personal again? Like your course, I didn't catch his name. The guy who calls me babyish and uneducated.
Jonathan, goodbye.
Well, whoever he is, it doesn't really matter.
Oh, right, thank you very much. I'm an irrelevance.
Exactly what to expect. They turn it to the personal. Like the Bigot award, it becomes personal. I'm talking about an ideology. I'm not talking about your transgendered speaker up from Newcastle, wherever she comes from. It sounds a lovely lady who presumably gets on with her life, and I absolutely agree. I get on with my life and live and let live. That's a very good personal philosophy. But there are those, the gay leaders, who are trying to stick their agenda politically all over our political life. And it's perfectly reasonable for me to highlight that, to use strong words about it. We live in a democracy. We're up for debate.
Absolutely. But the thing is,
programs like yours, Nicky, we can have the debate. We're reasonable people, but there is political activity going on, and it is reasonable for me to highlight that.
But that's the whole...
Because you're rather rude. Correspondent Jonathan wants to get personal about it.
No,
I don't think he ought to. I think he ought to stick to the issues.
Yeah, well, I am sticking to the issues, and the point is here is that. Okay, I'm very sorry if I've offended you personally. However, let me get to the issues, and the issue is that Stonewall is a cause organisation. Yes, it started off in 1989 with Section 28. It's all about actually highlighting these issues. So you can't then say that I disagree with an organisation whose whole point is to highlight these issues. I mean, what do you want these people to do? I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah, but no, in this case, no, you can disagree with it, but you can...
Well, hang on, what's happening here is... hang on, what's happening here is... Wait, Alan and Jonathan. Isn't what's happening here is that you're both using strong language to highlight an argument to which you are opposed. You're using the Nazi language, the N-word, and you, Jonathan, are in support of those who are using the B word, the bigot. So it's actually, it's the same means to a different end, very different opposing ends. And maybe some would say you're as bad as each other, and others would say good luck to both of you.
We live in a Nicky, we live in a democracy. It is perfectly reasonable for me to object to what Stonewall politically want to achieve. That's the whole point of living in democracy, and I can use such language, provided it doesn't generate hatred against individuals or incite violence. I can use such language as highlights that agenda, and that is what I've done. But I do deplore people like Jonathan who just get very personal about it, and that's why the biggest...
It's quite personal to use to compare a movement to Nazis. It's quite personal, Alan.
No, it's not. It's not against any person whatsoever. It's against the ideology of which Stonewall and others are major proponents.
Well, who are the Gestapo?
A very vindictive one, as we see with the Bigot of the Year award.
Okay, thank you very much, Alan. There's some news coming in. Thank you very much. We have had a statement from Barclays, from Mark Q. McLean, Managing Director, Head of Global Diversity and Inclusion. Barclays sponsors of the Stonewall Awards, not happy with Bigot of the Year as a category. Let me just read some of it for you. In my capacity as Head of Global Diversity and Inclusion for the bank, I have ultimate accountability for our relationships with diversity organisations, including with Stonewall here in the UK. Let me have a look. Paragraph 4, I think, is the one. I have recently been made aware of the inclusion of a Bigot of the Year category in the awards. Let me be absolutely clear that Barclays does not support that award category, either financially or in principle, and have informed Stonewall that should they decide to continue with this category, we will not support this event in the future. To label any individual so subjectively and pejoratively runs contrary to our view on fair treatment and detracts from what should be a wholly positively focused event. Nick's in London and Alan's in Surrey. Hello, Nick.
Good morning, Nicky.
Yes, sir.
Well, I was obviously just listening to your guest who was talking about the Nazi comparison, which was lovely to hear. I'm a gay sports journalist, and I do a lot of work with a couple of charities, one of which former World Cup winner Ben Cohen, his Stand Up Foundation, is all about standing up against bullies. And the sort of comments that chap's making, suggesting that it's not targeted at individuals, it's against an ideology, and then proceeds to continue his sentence with the likes of Stonewall and others. Well, Stonewall is run by people who create an ideology because there are people who feel that it is not a level playing field. There is still an awful lot of tolerance and acceptance.
Oh, it's not a level playing field, all right.
That isn't going on, and so, in terms of having that opinion, you are targeting people, and you're having a problem and comparing individuals who are looking to try and achieve that equality with some form of hideous Gestapo Nazi comment.
Was that Alan coming in?
Yeah, he's talking about level playing fields. What are my chances of organising a straight pride march?
What do you want to do that for?
Why do they want to do a great gay pride march?
Maybe because...
and they do it, don't they? I mean, they're allowed to do that and disrupt all the traffic in central London. But if I wanted to organise a straight pride march just for the fun of it, why would I be allowed to? Of course I wouldn't. And who was the bully of those two guys who were talking just now? The bully was the one standing up for Stonewall.
What would you have on your floats for the straight pride march?
Float. I don't know. I haven't really given it enough that much thought.
Well,
but
look, you've set the hair running. You might get a lot of support here, and then
give me a chance, and I'll think of something.
Jonathan,
have you ever been in a normal pub with your wife or girlfriend and had people touch or look unacceptingly at you? Have you ever felt intimidated?
I've never seen it necessary for people to flaunt their sexuality. I don't care whether somebody...
Well, you're flaunting your sexuality. You have a straight pride.
Absolutely. They're not flaunting it. It doesn't bother me.
Nicky.
Jonathan.
Flaunting. Yeah. So walking hand down the road with your partner is flaunting it, is it?
Hand in hand, possibly not. I don't like the look of it, but it's not. No, but having it start open mouth kissing, two guys open mouth kissing in a pub, I wouldn't like that.
Okay, Nicky.
I would find that offensive if that was a straight couple. That's not what I'm referring to.
Right, yeah, okay.
Wait, Jonathan.
Yeah, can I just get back to the point here? And I want to just comment on what Mr. McLean said, Mark McLean from Head of Global Diversity at Barclays. Yeah, what I find that really offensive, what he said in terms of his statement, because you can't sponsor an organisation and say that when the organisation actually gets to the nub of what the issue is that organisation is involved with, then you're not going to actually be involved with them anymore. You either are involved or you're not involved, and that is an offence to anyone of any sexuality. What a terrible indictment on Barclays.
What were you saying, Nick?
Well, I was going to say in terms of the wider, bigger issue, I mean, the reason that some of these people are on this shortlist is, as Stonewall have said, is because they have gone above and beyond the call of maybe an acceptable level of disdain on a certain topic to actually, coming out with something quite offensive. And so if being labelled a bigot causes some form of offence to them, okay, I'm aware that it might start to seem a little bit name-calling and sticks and stones, and you should probably rise above it. But if it makes them realise that their comments on a larger scale have offended people and they end up being offended by being called a bigot, well, then it's a little bit of a taste of their own medicine.
Alan?
Sorry? Well, I think I've said my piece, Nicky, really.
Okay.
Well, he did mention about walking hand in hand, and some years ago when I lived in Turkey, you see Turkish soldiers walking hand in hand, and we did think it looked a bit odd.
Oh, God.
Even though it wasn't because they were homosexuals.
Oh, dear. So sad.
It's quite unbelievable that there are people who still don't understand that there will be kids in parts of, remote areas of this country, not even that, in, the darkest corners of Dorset and Somerset or up in the north, or people who are on their own in some of the bigger cities who feel totally alone and cut off for the fact that they are different to their friends. And when you have people that stand up to try and make them feel equal, then it's support them, because nobody should feel vilified for being born as to who they are. And I can't believe people like this gentleman still go around saying, I don't want to see it on my high speed. Just offensive.
Totally agree.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you for your call. Nick, thank you for your call as well. And Jonathan, for your contributions. Alan Craig, very nice to hear from him earlier on. He's actually been nominated tonight, Bigot of the Year. Alan, give him credit. He called in. And we'll have a great day. I'll be with you tomorrow. Rachel here at 6. I'm along at 7. And another Your Call. Who knows what we will be discussing at 9 o'clock.